My fiancé was on a business trip, and I was suddenly stopped by a neighbor. He stared straight at me. "Can you keep the screaming down?" I froze in place and asked him, "What do you mean?" "This neighborhood is not soundproof. You can hear it every afternoon. It's really annoying." After saying that, he casually pointed to the door of the room behind me. "But I haven't been here for half a year. Don't hesitate to subscribe to the Luxury Romance." The whole text is broadcast to the end. Don't forget to press like, leave a message, share, subscribe, turn on the little bell. The wonderful story begins now. I was holding the dress I had just found in my hand and froze in place when I heard the words of the man in front of me. The spring sunshine was just right, but I was freezing cold. I looked at him and asked again, "What do you mean?" He raised his head and looked at me, a small me reflected in his dark pupils, and seeing that I really did not understand, he opened his mouth to patiently explain. "You've been screaming too loud these afternoons. I have to go to graveyard shift. It's really annoying. Even if the desire is too big, you have to wait until the evening. This neighborhood is really not soundproof. You can hear everything." I opened my mouth but didn't know what to say. Finally clutching my skirt, I asked him, "You mean me?" He picked up the corner of his lips and let out a laugh, lifting his finger to point behind me. "You don't live here?" With that said, he hung his head and pulled his cell phone out of his baggy pants. His bony fingertips tapped and clicked, finally finding a picture and placing it in front of me. "Is this your boyfriend?" The photo is a blur. The man's back to the balcony, his upper body naked, holding a cigarette in one hand and puffing on it. There was no face, nothing symbolic, but I recognized the man in the photo at once. My boyfriend. Also my fiancé. We got together yesterday to discuss the wedding. With the wedding date approaching recently, Kevin has been extra busy these past few months, not only traveling, but also juggling our wedding matters. When he left that day, he dropped a soft kiss on the corner of my lips and touched my head, saying, "When I come back, let's go get a license first." I laughed at him for being too eager, but I couldn't help but smile on my face. Before he left the house, he said teasingly, "Don't think about me. Think about what you're going to wear to get your license." I had already thought about it. I wore the first dress he gave me. That dress was his birthday present to me. When we first started our business, we were so poor that we were crammed into an apartment where the lights had to be turned on 24 hours a day. And when I came in from work, he would hug me first. His body smelled of sweat and kitchen fumes, and even when the lights were on, the room was still dusty, so the delicate gift box stood out. "How much?" Those were my first words. At that time, he did not say anything. Cut the hang tag. Only urged me to try. I secretly checked the price, $5,800, and cried and laughed for a long time with heartache. When he saw me shedding tears, he pointed to the penthouse across the street from the apartment and said, "What is this? Don't cry. Want on. Sooner or later, I'm going to buy you a big house." His words have finally come true. On the day I moved in, he, who had never cried even when he was in millions of dollars of debt, hugged me and cried, "Want on. I've finally lived up to you." As the weather warmed up, I went through my closet again and again, but the dress was nowhere to be found. Thinking about it, it should have been left in the apartment. Kevin still rented the apartment. He said, This is the place to witness our love. When I took a taxi, there were tall pine trees in front of the neighborhood. Just like before. Nothing had changed. I've been down this road more than 1,000 times, and I knew my way to the original apartment. When I opened the door, everything was the same as before. The carpet at the entrance is still the one I found at the second-hand market, and the table is the one we both made ourselves. Turn into the bedroom. Open the closet. The dress is hanging in a pile of clothes. When Kevin's career was just starting to take off, he was very generous and said, "Don't bring anything. I'll buy you a new one." I knew that he loved me and I couldn't bear to take away his face, so I really didn't bring anything with me when I left. When he comes back, he is going to move home properly. At this point I looked at the photo and was freezing cold, shivering and gritting my teeth as I replied, "I haven't lived here for half a year." The man put away the cell phone. The expression on his face changed again and again. Finally, he spat out a sentence. "You take care." I pinched my hands to ease my emotions and pulled my cell phone out of my bag. After pressing the button a few times without successfully unlocking it, I finally put the phone away and looked at the man in front of me. "Can I have your contact information?" His expression changed, wanting to say something but swallowed hard. Finally, do not know what to think of. Turned around and took a neutral pen, hung his head and wrote down a series of numbers in my palm. "Don't think about it. There are plenty of men in the world." The neutral pen tickled my palm. When he finished, he said to me, "Call me." I didn't care why he would say such a thing to a stranger and went home in a trance. Lying in bed until nightfall, I didn't catch my breath. Raising my hand, the string of numbers in my hand signaled that this was no dream. I followed the numbers to find his contact information. The nickname was the name. Liam. I sent the first message. "Can you let me know when the man of the house comes back?" There was a quick reply back. "No, they just got back." I looked at the words and couldn't look back. Tapping into the chat box with Kevin, the last sentence was still from him. "I'm having dinner. Monon, you have to remember to eat dinner. I'm checking in." After that followed a picture of a takeout sitting on the desk. I deleted it and finally asked, "Where are you now?" Waited for 2 minutes. No reply from there. I took a cab and went straight to my old apartment. The heart tightens. Maybe, as I look at the wrong person maybe, this world is the body shape temperament are similar to the people it. All my excuses, all the steps I found for Kevin, were all shattered in front of the apartment door, the pair of shoes at the door I bought for him. Liam was leaning in the doorway with his cell phone in his hand. And when he saw me coming, he absently walked towards me. Into the house? I hear it more clearly in my bedroom. "Mr. Goo, aren't you getting married? Why do you have time to find me?" A wall away, the woman's shrill voice could be heard clearly, followed by the voice I've heard countless times. Last time, the woman seemed to be upset, grunting and pouting. Every time you say last time. What? Your wife can be as comfortable as me? Kevin did not say anything. The woman's voice trembled and climbed to another height. It was quiet for a long while before Kevin's voice came from over there. "The money will be credited to your card later, and we won't meet again." I covered my mouth, nausea flooding my heart uncontrollably, stumbled to find the bathroom and threw up completely. My cell phone was outside, beeping and ringing, and I didn't bother to look at it. A few seconds later, the special tone of the phone rang again. and the sound swirled around the small apartment. It was the one Kevin and I sang together. You know, even if the rain turns the whole city upside down. The lyrics were ironic as hell at this point. Liam knocked on the door, holding up my cell phone. Answer? I couldn't say anything in time, so I turned my head and threw up again. The phone rings for 10 minutes or so, and the people next door seem to realize something is wrong when they hear it ringing. There was a knock on the door and it was my usual familiar voice. Anyone there? Liam stands in the doorway and raises an eyebrow at me. I stood up holding onto the toilet and stumbled closer to pick up my phone, putting it on silent. The knocking continued and I opened my phone with a shaking hand. A quick glance revealed a message back from Kevin. Working late. Followed by a picture. The small desk lamp I gave him was emitting warm yellow light, softly shining on the desk, and next to the file was his hand wearing a wedding band. When I saw the picture, my mind rumbled and I couldn't think straight. I just froze in place. Knocking on the door kept on knocking, and his voice rang out at the door again. Contained a few points of urgency. Anyone? Thoughts came back. I'm not a generous person. At this point, I can't wait to rush out the door and slap him hard. And I can't wait to make a scene by pulling out the woman next door with me. These images flew through my mind. But then what? What do I get out of it? I wasted 6 years of my youth, accompanying Kevin from the poor boy up. When people mention this later, they will at most smile at each other and say that Kevin is a flirt. What about me? Did I deserve all this? I am not willing to just turn over. I pinched my palms hard, forcing myself to control my emotions, shaking my head, trying to open my mouth but realizing I couldn't make any sound. Opening the memo, gasping for breath and controlling my trembling fingertips to type. Help me hide this. I sit crouched in the doorway of the bathroom, watching him hold up his cell phone as he walks out. He opens the door as he makes the call. Excuse me. My wife called me. Can I help you? The door is quiet for a long while. Kevin is always cautious. I gritted my teeth and went through my old chat logs, copying and pasting back to him. So hard off. Go to bed early. I made sure my tone was the same as usual. Outside the door, cell phone ding-dong a sound. Kevin's voice rang out. Sorry to bother you. I heard the ringtone and wanted to cry and laugh. It's so strange that he loves me so much that he can keep an eye on my messages. He can remember that I need warm water every morning. And he can even handle the cat hair stuck on my body with ease when he is slightly allergic to cat hair. He loved me in every detail. So how did he have to cheat on me? Liam came back very quickly and was very open and joking. Scared me to death. Just now he suddenly stopped talking. I thought I was found out. A wall away. The woman's shrill voice also sounded almost simultaneously. Your wife must be at home at this moment. Who would have nothing to do here? Kevin lowered his voice so I couldn't hear him, but only heard the woman's words one after another. I've been here so many times. Which time did I get caught? You don't recognize me after you've had a good time? Money? You can pay me off. There was a lot of noise over there. And finally there was a bang. I guess it was the night light at the end of the bed. The only time Kevin lost his temper with me was because I snuck out to drink with a partner for a project. When he found out, he trembled his lips and slammed the night light on the bed. Finally, he crouched down and held his head and cried. That nightlight has already been dropped once, and it should be completely broken if it is dropped again. Liam looked at me and wanted to comfort me. His lips opened and closed, and finally talked about himself. I've had my share of bad luck with people. I stood up and walked to the balcony. He followed me. His whole body is still lazy. Leaning on the balcony faintly said, "Look forward." I stood on the balcony and looked out onto the next balcony. It was late at night, and there were no other loud noises except for a few honks from the occasional oncoming vehicle. I unfolded the questions wrapped around my heart plainly and dissected them thoroughly. How many times had he lied to me without my knowledge? How many times was he actually traveling when I wondered if his business trip was going well? Which of the photos he sent me and the routines he shared with me were real and which were fake? How many times has he cheated on me in this place he calls a testament to our love? I chose those sheets. I washed them. Do they stain my sheets? Would he have given that girl a $3,500 dress in this room too? Liam stands next to me and calls my name. Vague, like a couple's murmur. Sophia. When I turn my head, he says it again. Look forward. His eyes are so bright. I feel like I've seen them somewhere before. But I don't want to dwell on what's in front of me, as it's already occupying my mind. I hadn't come to the balcony with the intention of killing myself. So when I came back to my senses, I asked him one last question in a daze. How long have they been here? He said that he had moved here 6 months ago, and that he had been able to hear their voices at regular intervals for the past 6 months. 6 months. That's exactly when Kevin asked me to marry him. I hung my head and let out a laugh. Liam, seeing me like this, stood up straight and started to persuade me. I'm a travel consultant. So if you can't, why don't you sign up for our tour and go out for a break together? It's ridiculous. At this moment, when he said this, I subconsciously felt that he was trying to pull my performance. No need. I touched the wedding band on my middle finger. He looked at me and said, "Don't be a love brain. My sister used to be one. I'm too familiar with her. If you meet the wrong person, you can't just run headlong into them. Life is still long." I turned my head to look at him. He was a bitter look to persuade me. Strangers can do this point. Has been very difficult. I opened my carry-on bag, drew out a pile of cash, and placed it on the balcony table. He pursed his lips. What does it mean? The meaning of too clear. But I also sincerely thanked him. Thank you. Liam suddenly smiled. His dark eyes like two obsidian. His long and slender hand was pressed against the table, and his fingertips twisted a few $100 bills, hanging a bright smile one by one. He counted them up. Finally, counted 5, put the rest on the table and turned to wave at me. I looked at the few pieces of cash left on the table and his voice fell into my ears. Let's go. Too clear. When I got home, I calmed down and realized that there was a pattern to everything. Obviously, the last picture posted was a hotel table. How the next picture became the company's desk. It's just that I trusted him so much that I never bothered with the little details. I put that dress in the deepest part of the closet and asked Kevin, "When will you be back?" He almost counted the seconds to reply. "You're still up. Aren't you?" "Tomorrow." I stayed up late to finish my work. "I'll be back tomorrow." I didn't reply to him. Nestled in the sofa, looking at the photos of these years again and again. From the green campus together to the prosperous city. From the dilapidated apartment behind us together to the penthouse. The photos are getting clearer and clearer, but the Kevin in my memory is more and more blurred. I remembered that when he confessed his love for me, he said, "Follow me. I won't let you suffer." Nowadays, He has been polished by the society to be more and more gentle and smooth. I was smothered in the sofa and sent over the wedding scene I had picked out. He sent back playful emoticons in seconds. I'm sure we'll have to split up. But I had to take something away. It was only fair. Kevin knew my situation. And all he said when he proposed was, I will give you lots and lots of love and lots of money in the future. Oh. In the past, love and money were equal halves. Now, with love gone, the lesser ones have to be filled with money. It wasn't hard for that woman to find. And in less than half an hour, she investigated their past. It was nothing more than a business deal. And a boss had slipped someone to Kevin. After a while he didn't say no. So he secretly kept her around as a contraption. The woman's name is Amber. And there's nothing much wrong with her. Except one thing. She has a lot of boyfriends and most of them are rich. Kevin should also be looking at this point. Think dumping is easy. Tossing and turning. I used a small number to add her friend. The verification message was only one sentence. Do you want to marry Kevin? She agreed quickly. And I sent. I guarantee you'll marry him. That side returned, eh? And I stopped replying to her. The next day Kevin came back with his hand outstretched, as always waiting for me to hug him. I sat on the couch and looked at him fixedly as he sensed something was wrong and withdrew his hand. Walking quickly to my side, he inquired in a whisper, What's wrong? Anything. I don't look at him and hang my head looking at the carpet on the floor, unlike the cheap carpets in our apartment. He knew that I didn't like to wear shoes at home and carefully picked the best ones and laid the whole house by hand. I felt sorry for him. He straightened up, beads of sweat hanging on his forehead, and said, You did it before. Now it's my turn. Of course. After a long time, I had brewed enough emotions before I spoke. My voice choked with emotion. Have you ever done anything wrong to me? Kevin fell to his knees almost immediately. His tone panicked. I've heard something bad from someone. Haven't you? We've been together for so many years. And I've never failed to report to you when we've been drinking and talking about business. Oh no. Not once. Oya can trust me. He said. He said. His trembling hand came to touch my face, his tone humble to the dust. I love you the most. I couldn't help but snicker. He was really good too. Being able to say he loved me the most while peacefully entangling himself with another woman. I look closely at his expression. At this point he doesn't blink when he tells a lie. The boy who gave me the dress and was so nervous and overwhelmed by lying to me about $50 just to put my mind at ease seems to have suddenly disappeared into time. He clutched my hand, cold sweat seeping from his forehead. Before he could speak again, I withdrew my hand and said casually, I was joking, instead of relaxing. He looked at me seriously. This joke is not funny. He was serious. Then I was serious too. I looked at him with a smile on my face and said, Othen, have you ever done anything wrong to me? He answered firmly, Oh no. The next second he changed the subject stiffly. Enough about that. Come to see the wedding. Do you have any suggestions? He naturally handed me his cell phone and looked through his collection of dozens of wedding plans in front of me. I took one look and spoke. Make it big. Invite all your relatives. He looked up in surprise, knowing I didn't have a good relationship with my family. I thought you'd like something smaller. That was before. Maybe it was a real break. Or maybe it was the part of me that put Kevin on his guard. During this time, He suddenly didn't have to fly back and forth on business trips and hated being home 24 hours a day. He was back to his old Mr. Nice guy self. Whenever I got off work, the first thing he did was hug me, as if he was back in the old days when he lived in the apartment. Invitation after invitation was sent out. Kevin smiled and invited people he knew and didn't know to come to our wedding. Perhaps out of guilt, perhaps out of genuine happiness, gifts were delivered to me one by one. Within 2 days, everyone knew how much Kevin favored me. I accepted it with a light smile, and when the time was right, I even added, "That's for sure." It really wasn't easy for us to get to this point in college. I dragged Kevin shopping as if to make up for not having time together before. But I didn't expect to turn a corner, and we bumped into Amber. The face wasn't familiar to me, but the voice was. She took the arm of the person next to her and spoke delicately. "You buy me a bag." The guy next to her says back, "Okay." The four of us collided head-on and Kevin stiffened for a moment. I gave the man Amber was holding a look, and he unceremoniously pushed her into Kevin. The coffee in Kevin's hand spilled all over the two of them. Before we could speak, she opened her mouth first. Her voice was soft and she hung her head. "I'm sorry, Mr. Goo." Kevin held my hand harder and harder. I smiled and looked at him. "Recognize?" He hooked his head down and explained to me seriously. "Intern from the previous company." I let out an "oh," not caring why a small intern would be remembered by him. She panicked and took out a paper, taking the lead in wiping the dirt off Kevin's body. Before Kevin can take a step back, she voices out, "Why don't I go and buy you one?" Kevin shrugged it off, but Amber's red eyes looked like she wasn't going to let him say no. I couldn't make the connection between the person in front of me and the voice I overheard in the apartment the other day, so I looked at her a little more. She tilted her head and smiled at me, then spoke. "Sophia-san, come with me. I just don't know what to pick." I answered straight away, lifting my foot to go. Kevin, however, clutched my wrist in an understanding manner. "Let's go pick something out together then." The store was huge, so I followed the shopper and got carried away with the fabrics of the suits. When I turned around, Kevin and Amber were gone. I politely told the shop assistant that I wanted to browse, and Amber's male companion came up to me. He called out to me, "Sister Sophia, Sister Su Ling asked me to follow you. What should I do next?" There's money for everything. He was probably on his first shift and was clearly unskilled. I touched a piece of black wool suit fabric and suddenly remembered those dark eyes. In a flash of lightning, an image suddenly flashed through my mind. Him holding an umbrella, the girl beside him crying nonstop, those eyes looking up at me through the curtain of rain. I think I probably remembered when I had seen him. The boy was visibly nervous and asked me again, "Asis, what am I going to do?" I then looked back at him and said, "Aguide Amber into spending money. The more the better. Ash owes a huge amount of money and your mission is over, Rapo." He was visibly dumbfounded. "What am I supposed to do?" I summoned the guy to load down the fabric and turned my head to the dumbfounded boy. "I paid for you. This should be something you have to think about." Kevin came out to change into a suit and I approached, circling him and complimenting him. "That's nice." Amber followed, and I deliberately ignored the ambiguous atmosphere between the two of them. I looked up to Kevin. "Why don't you wear this on your wedding day?" His expression stiffens for a split second before he finally pats me on the head. "Just kidding. Until we got home." The expression on his face hadn't relaxed in the slightest. He was trying to say something to me. Finally, at dinner, he opened his mouth, with a serious look on his face. I heard that in turn doesn't have a very good personal life. I tilted my head to express my confusion. He continued. She has a lot of boyfriends. I asked, what's her private life got to do with me? He explained. I just want to tell you, don't get too close to her. It's funny, he was the one who got entangled with her, and now he's the one who dislikes her. As the wedding date got closer, he remembered that I had practiced calligraphy and pestered me to write the wedding invitations. Every time he finished writing a person's name, he picked up the invitation and asked me if I remembered this person. There were our college classmates, his high school classmates, and various relatives. One by one he told me. I lift my quill and write down the name of one person after another. And halfway through, his cell phone rings. He was quiet for a split second, not sure what he remembered, but finally answered the phone. At the same time, my phone also rang. After answering it, the boy's clear voice rang out. Sister, the mission is complete. I ran away. I casually replied, I heard Kevin's voice containing impatience ringing out. Said, don't bother me. Without looking up, I asked him, difficult customer? He said, The other side of the phone was puzzled for a moment, and only then did I say to him, tomorrow, the fees will all be credited to your card. Happy cooperation. Kevin saw that I was in a good mood and asked me, the cooperation was successful? I nodded at him and followed the list and proceeded to write the invitations. Finally, he put down his cell phone, looked at me and said, there's something going on at the company. I'm going to take care of it. He didn't wait for me to answer and turned to leave. I drew an invitation and neatly wrote Liam's name. The groom's place had Kevin's name written on it early. I keeled over and wrote Amber in the bride's column. I changed my account to a smaller one to see Amber's urgency. She sent a string. Who are you? Sophia? I don't need to marry Kevin. I have a boyfriend. My boyfriend is good to me. Why should I trust you? There was a long gap after that. And yesterday, she sent her last message. What's it going to be? It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is that I understand the nastiness between them. And I know that her best option at this point is to marry Kevin, because she owed a huge amount of money and desperately needed a wrongdoer. Knowing that Kevin was on her side, I simply replied back to her, have a baby first. I thought about it and added, as not as can be. Until the evening, Kevin still didn't come back. Liam's phone call did come, containing a complaint. A short sentence. The sound next door is ringing again. I ignored him and asked him, did you get the invitation? He said, yes. Where's the suit fabric? I got that too. I was satisfied. And that was the end of it. I had just started college, and I had a childish air about me. I was returning to my dormitory with my lunch that day when I saw a girl being pulled by a man holding an umbrella from afar. It was raining heavily, and the girl's face could not be distinguished from rain or tears. I was so angry that I slammed the lunch in my hand, hitting the man firmly on the chest. Let her go. It was then that he raised his eyes to look at me through the rain. Later I realized it was an oops. The girl was his sister, dying for the scum. So he was strong-armed into taking her home. It had been 6 years since this incident, Too long a time. And besides, I didn't expect to meet him again, and was genuinely unable to remember. But the person on the other side of the phone seemed to laugh softly. Kevin's unpleasant voice on the other side drilled down the microphone to my side. But all I could hear was his voice. He said, "Sophia, do you think that makes it all right? Or what?" He had his pride and finally just replied sullenly, "Think for yourself." It wasn't until the early hours of the next morning that Kevin came home in a cloud of dust. When he saw me turn over, he approached me and apologized shyly. "Did I wake you up?" he said, and tried to bend down to kiss me. I covered my mouth and nose and spat. "You smell funny. Go take a shower." He straightened up and hurried to the bathroom. Amber's message came through as well. "And then what?" I plopped down on the bed and replied back to her. "Wear the wedding gown on Kevin's wedding day. It'll pick you up." She should have guessed who I was, but she had no choice. A second before Kevin exits the bathroom door, I send her, "Give me a couple of intimate pictures of you guys." Kevin laid back on the bed and reminded me, "Don't look at your phone. You can still sleep a little more." I looked at one of the photos sent to me and got up to answer him. "I can't sleep. I'm going to check the wedding list." He carefully urged me not to look at it too late. I went into the study, made a video of each photo, and copied it to a USB flash drive. Amber's message followed. "Sure I can get married?" "I'm sure. The wedding bride is you." Finally, the wedding day came. Kevin sent me to the hotel. Before leaving, he asked me over and over again, "Oh, wait. Are you willing to marry me? How will the wedding go normally? How will I be able to get married?" I looked at the bouquet for the wedding and answered him with a few questions. "Of course it will go well. As soon as he left, I picked up Amber. She wasn't surprised to see me, but instead covered her stomach. "I'm pregnant." I ignored her hostility and told her it was her only chance. She asked, "Why are you helping me? Is this helping her?" She had no power. She had embarrassed Kevin and his family in public, and she was threatening to marry Kevin with an unknown child. So I didn't know what would happen after the wedding. But now that she said that, I transferred the collection code to her. Not much. $200,000. I took her money and put her in the wedding car. After putting on the mask, I took a taxi to the wedding site. When I arrived, the wedding car had not yet arrived. The staff had set up early. They already knew this wasn't an ordinary wedding banquet and consciously gave me a seat. I deleted the original file and put in the video I had made. After all this, Liam's voice rang beside me. "I'm leaving tomorrow. Are you sure you don't want to consider signing up for my tour?" I said, "Let's talk about it." Then hung my head and looked down the hall. He lazily leaned aside and casually said as he watched me concentrate on my movements, "That's fine. I'll rest for 2 more days." Before I could say anything else, my cell phone suddenly rang, and it was Kevin. So, he was not unaware of it. At this time, the wedding car should be outside the hall. I saw a lot of people surrounded out of the door. I saw Kevin holding up his cell phone and panicking as he headed for the door. By the time I looked again, he had hung up and was helping Amber out through the heavy veil and with Amber's rickety head. It was amazing that no one noticed anything was wrong for a while. I watched this farce like I was watching 6 years of my own life fly by. The farce peaked when Kevin dropped the diamond ring. "How come it's you?" he asked her, shaking her body as if he couldn't take it. "Where's Sophia?" As his words fall, I press play. The video behind me that had been used to tell the story of my love for Kevin was replaced with him and Amber. In that familiar apartment. They were saying disgusting things. The whole room was in an uproar. No one expected Kevin, who loved his other half the most, to be this kind of person. There were a lot of people invited, even 2 or 3 reporters. This time Kevin's reputation is really stinking. Kevin's parents went on stage and slapped him hard. Instead, it was my parents, who kept shushing Kevin around. He suddenly looked up at me, maybe recognizing me, and tried to lift his foot toward me. And in the next second, Amber wrapped her arms around his leg. Throwing her arms around him, she said, "I'm pregnant." I saw Kevin's usually gentle face chafe inch by inch as he lowered himself to her, not knowing what to say. She shook her head frequently and finally reached Kevin's parents, kowtowing one after the other. Kevin abandoned the pile of mess behind him and stubbornly walked towards me. He stood a meter away from me and spoke. "I know everything?" I didn't say anything, and he continued. "Oh, that time I always thought it would be wonderful just to be with you. But I'm getting old. I'm not the same teenager I was at 18. Facing those temptations. Once or twice is okay. But 100 times, 10,000 times. I really can't control it." He paused for a moment and then said, "Do you remember those romance novels you let me read? The stories always ended with the hero and heroine of childhood sweethearts getting married, and then what?" He continued, self-consciously. "And then it turns into the next heroine's cheating dad or divorced mom. I'm good-tempered, but not temperless. In all these years, haven't I ever been in a situation where someone has been offered to me? Have I not encountered temptation? Aren't there bosses he's worked with who have happy families? Do all novels end abruptly with marriage? It all boils down to the fact that he's rich, thinks I can't leave him, and doesn't want to control it. A cheating," said so fresh and clean. I looked at him and said, "Don't prue me. You just a cheating can still rise to the spiritual level." When I said that, Liam leaned over and let out a low laugh. Kevin looked at him and then at me. Liam pulled out his cell phone and showed him a picture he had taken of him wooing different women into the house. "Don't get me wrong. I'm your neighbor who couldn't sleep because of your noise and came to see the show. I put the pictures together on the big screen." Amber rushed over to him and tugged on his sleeve. She had changed her tune. "Mom and Dad are calling you. Kevin's parents love kids and have hinted more than once that I should have one sooner rather than later. But they were more pleased than surprised that Amber was pregnant. Everyone knows that Amber is pregnant. Kevin has always been proud of himself, so he will definitely marry Amber due to public pressure." My last words. Happy wedding. He couldn't be happier. I kept getting calls on my cell phone, asking me what I was going to do when our original partner wanted to terminate our contract. I'm happy. This is the time to get rich. I have a small share of the company, but it's not enough. I took the money Kevin had saved over the years, as well as the dowry money, and acquisition as many shares as I could. I always stayed out of the company's business and kept quiet. After the storm, I became the largest shareholder of the company. I auctioned off all my shares. When Kevin found out about it, he called again and didn't say anything for a long time. "You know the books. You have all my money. Isn't that enough?" He brought up the dress again. "I still remember that dress? You loved it so much for so many years. You were always so affectionate. Why would you betray me now?" I answered seriously. "That dress? It's inside the closet. Go see for yourself. Oh." Kevin didn't know when I got the dress back. He just yanked out a ball of rags. Amber posted all kinds of essay on the internet and started to clear her name, saying that the two of them actually knew each other a long time ago, and that I was the one who interfered in their relationship. Some people believe it. Some don't. There are always some ignorant people who call me names. And I opened Livestream to publicize my new company. Livestream to write counter documents to Amber when the heat was down, and Bandwagon when the heat was up. A clarifying document that dragged and dragged for 3 months to be written. Those who began to scold me as usual, but their nicknames are followed by order 5 times, order 3 times. Amber has had a lot of boyfriends. This thing is like a thorn in Kevin's heart. I little by little listed the timeline of Amber's relationship. Many people found out that Amber and ex-boyfriend broke up on the same day and found Kevin. The internet opinion spread to the maximum, and many people saw Amber's pregnancy and laughed at each other. But Kevin the man is mentally strong, and I called him personally. Categorically said, "The child in Amber's belly is not yours." He didn't say a word. And the shrill woman's voice on the other side came through the phone to me. "You don't believe me? I've been with you for so long." He asked me over the background noise. "How do you know?" I replied, "Have you forgotten what's in your vitamin bottle?" We had always had birth control, and he was afraid of hurting me physically. And the pills had always been his. Those pills were always in the vitamin bottles too. He sounded agitated. But I changed them back a long time ago. I didn't say anything. And he hung up, not knowing what was on his mind. Soon someone uploaded a video. The background was the hospital. Amber was covering her stomach and refusing to leave. Kevin forcefully dragged her inside. As soon as this video was posted, there were more people online claiming Kevin. Soon after, Kevin called and said, "You are legally responsible for changing my medication without authorization." I was surprised. "What are you talking about? I never do that kind of illegal behavior." Kevin ran up to the second floor and opened the bottle of vitamins, which were really just plain vitamins. Amber, not hospitalized, sat on the couch and cried, and he was distracted by what he heard. "Why didn't you say it was my baby?" "I told you." "You didn't believe me." He was too confident that Sophia wouldn't lie to him, and he was overwhelmed by one thing after another. Amber's debt dealt him a second blow. He looked at the astronomical figures on his IOUs and asked, "Where's the money?" Amber replies, "Make an investment." Now that the company is in chaos and he can't protect himself, he can't afford to pay back the money. But Amber hugged him tightly and called out to him, "Husband, with this money." Kevin finally agreed to the installment plan. My new company prospered because of Livestream, and those who hacked us the hardest in the beginning became our biggest fans. I dared to steal Kevin's business. You can't use robbing. I've worked with them originally, and they're just choosing the best. With all the robbing, it was inevitable that I'd run into Kevin. His eyes were green and black as he walked quickly toward me and asked, "What the hell are you doing?" I looked at his obviously aging appearance and answered him, "Fair play." Kevin's company was already in a strong position. Many people were waiting for acquisition, and the company he had worked so hard to raise ended up changing hands. The person who acquired my shares was more ruthless than I was. He hollowed out his power little by little, but he was not allowed to come down from the position of general manager. The employees still call him Mr. Goo, but in fact he has no power at all. The things he cares most about, his career, family, and children, are not left in the end. More than once, I saw his car parked outside my door, and then Amber appeared in front of me. A mess. Sue, please persuade Ching. What do I have to talk to him about? You guys have to be bitchy and stay away from me. I cleaned up the house and threw out all of Kevin's stuff. I searched for a notebook. But finally I realized that it must be in the apartment. I took a taxi back to the apartment. The same familiar road I had used last time. But this time I was completely relaxed. I opened the door and everything seemed familiar. I gently walked around the nightlight lying on the carpet and found the notebook in the bookshelf. This is the scrapbook I made for myself. All kinds of big events I have recorded one by one. Went to college. Fell in love. Graduated. Started a business. All kinds of records in it. I flipped to the end and softly wrote, June 10th. Start a new life. Extra Liam. Sophia and I went to high school together. And she obviously doesn't remember this. I kind of liked her in the beginning because she confessed her feelings for me. She liked me. So I liked her. But the next day I saw her take $1,000 from someone and I met her apologetic gaze and immediately understood what happened. At the time, I was ridiculously fat from all the pills I was taking and my grades were bad. So it was nothing more than a bet on me or something like that. Sophia's next move confirmed my suspicions. She put $500 in my desk, along with a small note. It said, move on. Her family's circumstances are well known, and she pays for her own tuition. Usually, if you ask her for help, you can do small favors, but if it's bigger, you need to pay. So even though she has good grades and is pretty, there are still a lot of people who hate her. The fact that she confessed to me for money is enough to witness her materialistic. I laughed out loud when I saw the $500. What she meant was that the two of us would work together, and the money we got would be shared. But I was confused about what she meant by looking forward. The second time we met, she gave me the answer to that question. My sister has not been frustrated since she was a child, and she still thinks that she has a hard time with cheating, and she insists on going to see him. It was raining and I had to drag her home. I was already annoyed. When the lunch flew on me, I was even more annoyed. But when the umbrella was raised and I saw those bright eyes, my irritation immediately disappeared. She didn't recognize me, crouched down, and handed my sister a piece of paper. Look ahead. Class. My sister, obviously not buying her lame consolation, hugged her hand and cried, he doesn't even want me anymore. Why should I look forward? Instead of being impatient, she said to her seriously, I don't want you to look at others. I want you to look at yourself. Crying in the rain to keep a scumbag. Is that what you want to be? It's funny. When people talk about moving on, it's mostly a casual consolation, or the goal of moving on is money or a stable life. But she's looking forward to herself, reflecting on what she wants to be, and working towards it. The sister was comforted. But her brain was not in the right place. Huffing and puffing, she affirmed, yeah, you're right. This is so ugly. I'm just now reacting to it. They left their contact information and before she left, she politely asked me my name. I said, Liam. She obviously didn't care, because the next moment she answered the phone, she jumped up and shouted, Kevin. All she could see was the person on the other end of the line. After graduation, I went to a lot of places, but that $500 and those apologetic eyes became clearer and clearer. In the end, I chose to stay in the city. My sister found me an apartment, and she said excitedly, "Sophia lives next door." But I didn't meet Sophia once, but always met a man. I thought she'd moved out and moved in with a new couple. I realized something was wrong when the guy brought back a different girl. I asked my sister for Sophia's phone number, and she sent me a screenshot of Sophia's friend circle. A red background photo. No text, but anyone can see the happy smile on her face. The man beside her I've seen time and time again. When there was a noise outside the door, I thought it was the man coming back and wanted to open my mouth to scold him. When I pushed the door open, Sophia was standing in front of it, and she cocked her head at me and asked suspiciously, "Who are you?" Those eyes appeared right in front of me. I put away my cell phone and watched her open her mouth nastily. "Can you keep your screaming down?" Obviously. We met earlier. But someone stole our hearts. I don't blame others. I blame myself for not being decisive enough. And I blame myself for not realizing my own feelings until I've been around the block. I think, since life is so long, let's start with her remembering my name.